Oh hi! Wouldn't it be great if you could have every game you would ever want to play in one place, ready to play on the cloud instantly, all for a very low price? Okay, so maybe everything can't be perfect.
I have a weird relationship with Game Pass. As I've previously discussed, I grew up with Xbox Live and stuff like that in the 360 days, so when I eventually ended up with an Xbox One, I was enamoured with the idea of being able to play all of these games without actually owning them. And then I realised, I only want to play a few games on Game Pass. In fact, if I was to buy a physical copy of every game I want on Game Pass, I'd probably end up saving more money than I do paying for Game Pass each year. So, welcome to Bithe7011's pros and cons of Game Pass and why I think I'll still use it despite the fact that it makes no sense that I do use it, but I will still use it anyway.
It's a working title.
So obviously, let's start with the pros. Firstly, to be fair, the idea of being able to play like any game that my heart desires that's available is a really cool idea. And I mean, like, I can just download a game and just play it. And like, I've actually found that I play more games due to Game Pass than I would if I'd seen it in a shop. For example, just a year ago, I would never play FIFA. A few months ago though, I decided, why not? I mean, I get it on Game Pass, so I might as well. So I downloaded it, and yeah, I actually enjoy playing it now. Which is funny, because if we were to go to a year ago, I'd have said, no. That brings me to my next point. EA Play being included in Game Pass was a really good idea, because I'll be real, I would never subscribe to EA Play if it was on its own. But when it's included in Game Pass Ultimate, I find that I'll actually use it from time to time, even if briefly. And I mean, yeah, I know it is just included in the price, but we'll get to that. Another thing I find that I'll use sometimes is Cloud Prey. Now, we will be talking about Cloud Prey later again, but for now, let's just realise how good it actually can be. It lets me actually decide if I will like a game or not before having to waste my time downloading it. It lets me decide if I actually like the game before I waste my time and download it. It's helped me decide if I liked FIFA or not before I download it, and that's especially useful these days when games can be hundreds of gigabytes inside, and either I can't afford to give up the space or I don't want to waste my time without knowing if I'll even like it or not. I do think it's quite a good feature for this type of thing. Who can forget that games are being added all of the time? That you really do end up feeling like you're getting your money's worth. And I mean, there are loads of games on here, and you won't play all of them. But you do have the option to play any game you want that is available. And Xbox Live being included is a good thing because having to pay for both would not be viable for most people. So being able to have Xbox Live and the loads of games to play is executed way better than Nintendo did it. And finally for the pros, the multiple options of subscription can be very useful if you either just want a few games that are on core, if you want lots of games on Ultimate. It'll make a really good addition to your kids' Xbox present for Christmas.
Okay, so obviously we have the pros, but we also have the cons.
I think some of these cons are going to be pretty obvious, but I think that a lot of these games are just fodder to make it seem like the Game Pass is bigger than it actually is. Like, who has ever played Wreckfest? I sure know I haven't. Like, let's be for real. They could have just cut out half of the Game Pass and we wouldn't even notice. But obviously, having like 100 plus games as a selling point is a big thing for Game Pass. Bringing me on to my next point. Okay, so there are 100 games, but you will not play all of them. Maybe like 10 or 20, depending on how much time you have in your hands. And I'm sure there are a lot of good games on Game Pass, but I haven't played them all. And like, I don't think anyone's ever played every game on Game Pass. And admittedly, the ones I have played, I have enjoyed, but they won't be here forever. What I mean by this is that these games don't stay on Game Pass for the rest of time. They're taking off like all of the time. And okay, yeah, that is an issue with almost every subscription service these days. But I feel it's much more of a personal issue when a game is taken off than when a movie's taken off Netflix. I mean, sure, you do engage with both, but like, with video games, they're a very personal experience. So then when one is taken from you, especially if you're in the middle of it, it feels like a part of you is taken away from you at the same time.
Yes, I do love to exaggerate. How did you know?
Okay, and let's be real. £15 a month is a lot of money. That's £180 per year, and that is a lot of money for the average person to lose on like 15 games they'll play on and off throughout the year. And I mean, like, people say to me, oh well, you've got enough games, eventually you'll beat the system and play enough games that you'll save money with Game Pass. You lose money either way, and a lot of it at that. And you know, if I could share the Game Pass with members of my family, even if it was just like one person using it at a time, I'd agree that £15 is a good deal. But if you have to spend £15 per person, and let me be honest with you for a second, I don't pay for my own Game Pass. My dad does. Because even at the age of 18, I'm still going to get my dad to pay for my subscriptions. But the poor guy isn't just paying for mine, but my sister's Game Pass too. So that's £30 a month, or £360 a year. That's nearly £1 a day. So sure, maybe it's a bit rich of me to sit here complaining about the price when I don't even pay for it myself. But I think, honestly, like, if it was £15 that I could share with people, kind of like Netflix or Paramount Plus, I'd say it's worth the £15 a month. But not letting you do that seems so anti-customer, and it just lines their pockets with cash. Okay, so before, I did say that cloud gaming was a pro. Okay, so I did say before that cloud gaming was a pro, but it does also have its own cons. For example, unless you have a stable internet connection, the game will run awfully. I don't have a stable internet connection most of the time, and because of this, you will also get input lag in your games, and when you're playing a game, you need almost instant input whilst playing. And I just don't think that the technology, especially in the north of England, is ready for streaming gaming yet. But if you do have a decent connection, then it can be quite a good way to play games. So maybe in a few years, we'll find that cloud gaming is the way of the future. Though personally, I wouldn't hope so. Finally, there's no Kinect games. I mean, how could we forget about the Kinect? It's the greatest console edition of all time. Okay, no, seriously. The real final con. It's kinda not really a Game Pass issue per se, but we'll talk about it now. Having to pay for online play in 2024 is insane. I mean, I brought the console, I brought the internet, I brought the game. Why do I have to pay the right to use all of those at the same time? And play with other people? Sure, if you want to lock certain things behind a paywall, I don't give a fuck. But locking online play behind a paywall is just so stupid. I mean, sometimes you buy a new game and you have to spend more money to play it because it's online play only. It is stupid and it really needs to stop. However you try and spin it, it is stupid and outdated in 2024. Okay, hear me out. A Game Pass where you can share it with other people, you can pick the games you actually want to pay for instead of 100 games you won't play. So you could have like 15 or so, and then you can change them out for different games every like month or something like that. And then you would pay a set price depending on what games you took out and how many games you chose that month. And I mean, it would have its own issues, but I think this would be a cool way for it to work. Not that it'd ever happen.
And look at that! I've just failed the unemployment meter of the day. Man, I should really get a job. Anyway, overall, what I'm gonna say is, if you can use the Xbox enough, or you can actually warrant getting the Xbox Game Pass, then get the Xbox Game Pass. But, if you can afford it, then you've got a job, surely. So then, are you gonna have enough time to play on the Game Pass? So is it worth that £15 every single month? Because that'll add up. But at the same time, I mean, I don't have a job, and I'm still gonna use it, so where do I get off telling people whether they can or can't use it? I mean, right, listen. If you enjoy it, right, even if, you know, you play like one game on there, keep fucking buying it, you know? You enjoy it, don't let me tell you what to do. I mean, I'm entitled to my opinion, but it might be a shit one, who knows? Yeah. And overall, I mean, I do think Game Pass is a force for good, and it does seem like it's here to stay, so we're kind of stuck with it now. Anyway, I am unemployed, but I have not got all day to keep talking about Game Pass. I mean, I have stuff to do, like, oh, fuck it, I'll go and play Wreckfest.